I love League of Legends, which is great because we get to do League Unlock here. Eric and Mark, where we go through a whole bunch of League of Legends action, and I love it the most because we're in playoffs in some regions, or we're looking for playoff clinching scenarios. North America was the first major region. I give him the air quotes, Mark. You got to do it.
Hey, it's the for fun region. You got to get
for fun region. And playoffs are extra fun, especially when TSM comes in to a quarterfinals matchup, not only as underdogs, but really zero expectations for them at all coming into the series. And if you had that mentality, then you weren't disappointed.
Yeah, but you know what? I tell you what, knowing the mentality of pretty much the majority of the TSM fan base, I'm pretty sure that was not the expectations. Even with this rough run into this series so far, I think a lot of people, and again, still even the analysts for the most part, except for Crumbs, had been thinking that, you know what, the playoff TSM buff will show up here. We're gonna see it. Even with Spica in the jungle here, a rookie, we're gonna find it. Well, you found something and you found a loss.
I think I can't even know if I can really say this. They look better than the regular season, but they were pretty much, I mean, Clutch 100% were far and away the better team in this series.
This
first
fight,
two
yikes.
games.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Vayne pick was highly questionable. I think.
Nope, do not tumble in. Oh.
It's hard to place blame, and I don't think there is one sole individual. Don't flame Spica for this series loss. This does not at all fall on him. I mean, he was put in a horrible situation to just basically make your LCS debut on the playoff stage for an organization like TSM. That's very tough. You got to blame the organization for a lot of this, for the Acadian situation, and really, I mean, Sven got a pentakill. Sven was actually probably the best performing TSM member in this whole series.
Right, if you're looking for a bright spot here, and man, it's not that bright.
None.
It's not that bright really, but it is a pentakill for Sven, and I think you can kind of look at this as maybe something that he can put in his back pocket after the way things ended in the spring split, game 5. I think you can kind of look at this as, a rebound in the playoffs type of performance. He did fine, of course, but knowing who Sven is and the type of teammate that he is, he will not really take any type of solace in that. He will definitely be focusing on the down points, the disappointment with his squad mates here, not getting the job done. And yeah, Clutch, man, we talked about them heading into this playoff series. They had been looking great, and I will say every single member of Clutch Gaming absolutely stepped up their performance, brought it their A game, and hey, they look like a real strong team heading towards their next semifinal match.
And let's face it, this isn't the TSM of old. Clutch looked much better coming into this series, and they had a dominant 3-1 win. That's it. That's usually how quarterfinals go in the LCS. The favorites come away in a convincing way. It's exactly what happened. Sven was the best performing member on TSM. Unfortunately for him, his counterpart, Cody-san, had an absolutely insane series where he only died twice, and he had about a 6-game deathless streak coming into this one. He has been incredible. So happy to see him back and performing on the playoff stage.
This is a fantastic thing we had been talking about a lot. Cody-san talking about the potential that we've been seeing, waiting for this next step in his performance, and I think we saw that for the most part in the early parts of his tenure with 100 Thieves, and then some wacky things happened, and we saw it cut short there.
We're 100 Thieves?
Right. They certainly could be using us here, and domestic ADC like Cody-san down there in the bottom lane, delivering these type of numbers. This is hard carry type of performance here from that bottom lane. So steady, so safe, yet still dishing out the damage exactly when was needed for Clutch Gaming. And I want to say his ability here, that bloodthirst for him to go in at the right moments, especially on that Kai'Sa, was on point this match.
And that's really how you separate the elite Kai'Sa players from the pretty good ones, is when they use that ultimate incredibly aggressively, sometimes a little bit dangerously so, but they turn around those big plays. So he was great. Huni was great. I think he destroyed that matchup versus Broken Blade. Congratulations to Clutch. You guys deserved it, absolutely. The other quarterfinal match, CLG versus Optic. CLG were big favorites coming into this one, and when you're watching game 1, it was kind of like, oh no, CLG, you couldn't get the bye. You had to play in quarterfinals. Here we go. They're not even getting to semis.
You felt this might have been kind of the old CLG curse rearing up again, saying, yeah, we let you slide. We let you get more than 7 wins this season, but nah, we're going to cut it short. And it turns out, well, it took only about 4 Barons to see this one, and we saw that.
Oh, they were in their base for so long defending in that first game.
It's not CLG that's cursed. It seems like it's Optic that's cursed on this day. as we didn't see the Optic Gaming perform or show up really the way that we had been seeing them towards the end of the split.
Yeah, and I think Crown in particular, the man who almost single-handedly got them into the playoffs, he did not have a good series at all in any of the 3 games. But after that first game and Optic definitely feeling like they probably should have won it, it's a classic case of after that, I mean, the series is basically done. Your mental goes completely boom. We saw that in game 2, and game 2 and 3 were just pretty much domination from CLG.
Right, that was completely, to me at least, seeing that mental go boom, seeing that you're not able to reset and check back into this series, check into a match and say, look, it didn't matter what happened the last one. It's all about this one. Unable to shake those emotions from the first one. And I mean, you can't really blame them so much from the way of what they had in their control in that first one and not able to come away with that victory, and especially with a lot of the members of Optic still being in the first playoff series here. When you're looking at a guy like Dokala, like Big down in the bottom side, you're still dealing with some inexperience compared to the CLG roster.
And Optic's franchise run in the LCS comes to an end with 0 playoff wins, but they did at least get to the playoffs on their last split, so shoutouts to them. Power of Evil got Player of the Series award, or nominee, whatever you want to call it, and he's the only guy who actually played a different, or the same champion. The diversity in this series was absolutely insane from CLG. 13 different picks in those 3 games. It was only PoE who had a couple of Azir games. So really, that diversity, I think CLG might actually have a chance against Cloud9.
Hey, we've been waiting a long time for CLG to get back into playoffs, and I tell you what, CLG fans, it might have been worth it here, because the way that this squad plays and the pieces that you have right now, you gotta be looking at this in the light of, look, we gotta be pushing all the way to the finals here. We can match up with anybody.
You need to if you want Worlds, because you got 0 points from Spring.
Absolutely, that is the big one, and that is, side note here, kind of the really unfortunate thing for Optic is that they don't get a chance in the gauntlet anyways, given this situation, the way it worked out. Only
FlyQuest
CLG.
does, though.
Hey. FlyQuest fans feel good about that, not Optic fans. But in this one, it was all about the CLG fans feeling good, because this was such a great performance by a lot of these members. And I think the really great one here is when you're looking at what you wanted to see in this quarterfinals matchup for CLG, is you wanted Wiggly to really perform well in the playoffs here on the LCS stage, and getting a couple games under his belt here. Looked pretty darn comfortable, pretty darn confident, and feels good moving towards the semifinals.
Yeah, and it will be CLG versus Cloud9 in those semis, because Liquid picked Clutch, which makes sense.
They were trying to pick TSM, but
yeah,
TSM
they wanted
didn't get
TSM.
through, man.
I can't believe there weren't more memes about that from the Liquid boys. But the semifinals should be hype, and we will preview both matchups later this week. Coming up after the break, the penultimate regular season week in EU did not have any shortage of spicy picks. That's just what the LEC does. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys. And if you're not watching the most exciting region in the world, because yes, it is Europe, it has triumphed over China right now, and a lot of it is just because of the picks, the pick ban, the draft phase. Thank you, G2, for revolutionizing that aspect of the game. We saw them pick Garen top, it became a meme, and Fnatic said, you know what? We'll show you how to do it. Reckless, I played that in the 1v1 matchups versus Prey at All-Star games. I know how to play it in the bottom lane, and he was completely useless in the game on that Garen pick, but Fnatic got the win.
We need to stop seeing Garens at all costs.
Don't tell me they won this game because of Garen. He could have picked any other champion in the game.
And to be fair, I will say that Yuumi and Garen, if you want to be trying to ruin some people's days in solo queue, is a pretty gnarly combo. Once you hit about 20 minutes, that Beyblade never stops spinning. But anyways, we're talking about professionally, out of my games here, because come on, man. You can't have everything Europe. You can't be the best region of League of Legends and be the for fun region. That's our job here in North America, keeping these type of champion picks in.
But we don't pick fun comps.
We don't pick fun comps, and we don't win when we pick these type of champs.
No. This is something, I mean, North America tends to pick up whatever's from the LCK or Europe now. I don't think they're picking up the Garen. This game, I think it was Whippo being insane on the Jace. I think he had a fantastic game for them. And poor Vitality gets Garen picked against them again.
Yeah, but I mean, it is poor Vitality, but it's also...
They also got a free win.
You have to beat Garen. Yeah, exactly. You don't really gain any points from beating Garen, and you certainly lose a ton of them when you lose to the Garen.
And this is the thing. It just feels different when Fnatic is picking stuff like this. I know they're not trolling with this pick, but I feel so weird about Fnatic. I don't think they're in a good enough spot to be doing some of these picks. I'm still confused with how good this team is.
We said no more karma for Reckless, and it turns out they really were listening.
Well, he lost on it, so now they next on.
And hey, you won on Garen. So
Garen, bring it back, roll it back. He had a great time in the bottom lane. Let's not pretend he didn't start 0-3 and was behind about 50 CS.
You want to play Garen against my boy Norse Garen and Splice this week? Go right on ahead.
Yeah, that seems like a recipe for disaster. A recipe for success for G2 is when Wonder memes about picking Smite Soraka top before a game, and then he actually picks it. You got to feel bad if you're the opposing team, and you still lose the game. Yes, Misfits, we're looking at you. They had a nice early game lead, but late game Soraka, Yuumi, you got no chance, man.
I think they had a nice early game lead here, and I think someone who definitely deserves credit for the early game is definitely Kirei was doing a fantastic job. But then you quickly transitioned into the mid game.
Jankos is 4-0. Huh.
Yeah, you quickly transitioned into that mid game, and there you can see Kirei starting to give back a lot of the good that he had been able to generate here for this Misfits team, and certainly gave G2 quite the window to take advantage of. And we know about G2, you don't need to give them anything, and they're going to take advantage of any opportunity.
I mean, this was a very fun game, as pretty much every single game G2 ever plays is. I feel like Soraka top with Smite in professional play in this meta is trolling. G2 is trolling and still winning these games. They know they don't matter for them. They've clinched first. In week 9, they are going to pick some insane stuff.
Yeah, look, I'll give full credit here to all you Soraka one tricks or Soraka mains out there. I'll say,
I'm sure you can stomp solo queue.
You can put Soraka up there in that top side, build AD, and you can be a nightmare for people to deal with. But in professional play, this is something that we should not be seeing succeed at any type of level here, given who you're going to be going up against and who is in the jungle as well here. But that is just what G2 is able to do. They're able to impose so much of their will and force in these matches that, hey, Soraka top with Smite doesn't matter.
I love G2. I love that they're doing this. It's absolutely hilarious that they can still style on teams with basically any pick in the game. Jankos should get MVP because he's had to deal with these ridiculous picks in the other lanes and still carry the team.
And I'll say it for people that are trying to go against this and not liking it and kind of raining on the parade and going, man, this is just disrespectful. Play your opponent.
Stop.
You know what? Have the opponent beat the Soraka here. Watch some games. Watch a Soraka top lane that you haven't probably seen in such a long time. Enjoy the game. Enjoy what you're seeing with G2. This doesn't happen pretty much ever. This is special. Appreciate it.
This is a special team. There are 4 teams that have clinched playoffs in Europe. There's 2 spots left, and it's Vitality and Origin, both sitting at 7 and 9. Vitality, I mean, they're 0-2. They lost to Garen, so that hurts their playoff chances. But they still have a game up on Rogue, who are right behind them. Is there a world where somehow Rogue makes a miracle run and takes a spot from one of these 2?
Sure, there's absolutely a world where it can happen here. Miracle type of run, big week.
1%?
But it's a very small 1%. Yeah, absolutely. I am feeling very confident that these 2 squads will find a way to get it done when it matters most here in this important week to secure these spots.
And I've just never really felt confident in Origin throughout the entirety of the split. They've kind of been sitting at 1-1s for a lot of the time. I think Patrick has had a pretty consistent split. A lot of their players, no one's really been bad per se, but just as a team, they've kind of not been able to beat any of the top 5 teams ahead of them, really.
And man, we knew that Mythi and Sven were a combo duo here, and now we're seeing it again at this point. You have a strong spring, and then the summer split for your team, not exactly reaching the same heights that you were able to reach in spring.
Yeah, maybe they just need Sven to come back. Maybe Sven and Bjergsen come as a duo back to Europe and really start making it...
TSM fans will be crying, don't say that.
Well, they'll be crying either way. But yeah, I think Origin and Vitality, they're definitely in the driver's seat. They just need to, basically get a win in this week to kind of secure that playoff spot. I think the top 6 is pretty much set for the LEC. It's not going to be crazy tiebreakers like we saw in North America, and those teams are just better than the bottom 4, so hope to see them both in there. The big match in week 9 is for that second place. It's for that bye. It's Fnatic versus Splice. We know how important the bye is in Europe. I feel like Splice should be favored in here because I honestly have no idea how good Fnatic actually is.
At this point right now, and what we've seen the past couple of weeks, you got to be going with Splice. The way that they're playing is so clean right now, very organized gameplay. coming through from this Splice squad. And then when you look at Fnatic, yes, we have seen some very strong performances. We've seen a lot of questionable things going on too as well. And I think when you do talk about as a whole these two teams, they look relatively similar in the way that they're able to get some of these victories. But I think when you do look at some of these losses, I think specifically Splice looks a lot better in those losses. And yes, a loss is still a loss, but I think when you're doing it and you're looking at all these individual performances and everything going on through it, I think right now, gotta roll with my boys on Splice. Northscaren's gonna come up huge, my boy.
Yeah, he always will, and you gotta shut out one more time. Northscaren is, in fact,
my
Mark's
boy.
So I think Fnatic, we don't know what they're going to pick. Maybe it's going to be Corki. Maybe it's going to be Twisted Fate.
Hey, maybe it's Azir.
Maybe it's Azir. All these crazy, spicy picks. Reckless is the exciting one to know what the heck he's going to pick. But that is the match to watch in Week 9. And winner is pretty much, definitely if it's Splice, guaranteed that bye, which is huge. Coming up after the break, the madness of the LCK is finally starting to shape up slightly. Griffin, the first squad to clinch a playoff spot. What is up, down, and sideways, everybody? Welcome back to League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys. And the madness of the LCK is slowly getting a little bit of sanity, even though, you know, Han was beating SKT. Things like that are happening. But we did get a team actually clinch a playoff spot, and it was Griffin after a 2-0, I don't know, demolishing of Kingzone in that series. I feel like the drama behind the scenes is obviously heavily impacting how well Kingzone is playing. But Griffin, I will say, looked pretty damn good.
I think absolutely when you're talking about the performance of the Kingzone players specifically, you do have to take into account all these rumors and reports that we are hearing about the dysfunction with the new owners and the way that they've been going about some of these things questionably, of course. Cannot blame the players for maybe not being as motivated for some of these matches or maybe just going through the motions here. But yes, definitely when you're going up against a squad like Griffin, and a squad like Griffin here that we've seen kind of start to pick up their mojo again here after a bit of that slump, you definitely need to be motivated, bringing your A game, because Griffin, man, they're bringing it this time on the Rift, and you absolutely saw it on the scoreboard, a clean performance.
And Griffin, I don't understand. They're a team that, for having not been around that long, basically a year, they have so many people that almost want to see them fail, even though they haven't fully succeeded or even reached their potential yet. I know they had tons of fans, and then they lost back-to-back LCK finals, so you're going to call them chokers or whatever. But come on, the KT series was a close, insanely close 5-game series. The only time they choked and didn't play to their level was that SKT one.
And of course, the story then becomes, hey, yeah, but this KT Roaster team, they suck now, right? Yeah, like they got
it's the same team, right? Yeah.
Come on, that was the mega team at the time, KT Roaster, that got that victory. And you're looking at Griffin here and talking about wanting them here to move on. This is what I think almost every League of Legends fan should want, regardless
Absolutely.
of how you really feel. This is a young squad of very talented players, players that are signed to this organization for further years here. This can be the beginning of a really special team here, and to get them international experience, see them represent the LCK, I'm pretty sure if you're a League of Legends fan, that is what's best for the game.
And now you look at the standings in the LCK with them clinching that top spot, combined with SKT dropping that series to Hanwha. They have definitely not clinched. In fact, they fell all the way down to 4th. And of course, Sandbox and Damwon still there with 11 wins. The game score is heavily in Griffin's favor, so getting first place is looking pretty good for them. Kingzone, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, it's probably what the players want at this point to not make playoffs. It doesn't look like that's happening, which means it'll probably be Afrika and Genji coming down for that final playoff spot. One of them in, one of them out. This is the final week of regular season action. SKT, they get Damwon and Sandbox. That is a doozy.
That is wonderful here for the SKT boys. Need a little bit of extra practice, sharp tuning heading into these playoffs if you're going to make it here. And this is again one of those situations where I'm pretty sure even if everything goes wrong for SKT and they lose both of these matches, I'm pretty sure there still is a very good chance that they do find their way into the playoffs.
Especially if they're going to 3 games.
Right, even in those type of situations here. But obviously need to have a good performance here, want to have these good performances against the table setters if you want to get to that type of top spot here. And then of course looking elsewhere in here, you have Afrika Freaks and Gen G with very important matchups. And I think you can't discount Hanwha Life anymore. We were joking and talking about how, man, Damwon not
Look
looking
out,
good,
Griffin.
getting that loss there. But then, hey, happens to Damwon, happens to SKT.
Griffin's next.
Certainly need to be prepared.
But Griffin looks like a lock for first, and maybe for Worlds as well. Over in the LPL, it looks like Knight is truly popping off and has been one of the best MVPs and performers that we've seen in a long time in the LPL. In fact, he's going to break the record. Probably, or has a good chance to break the record for most Man of the Match awards. Douinb had 16 way back on his Rogue Warrior days. Knight already has 15 with still a couple of series to go, and he has been basically the main factor and the main reason why top is where they are.
Hey, and you guys know me. Other than Douinb's family and his wife, I am the president of the Douinb fan club here. But I
Sole
tell you
member.
what,
That's right.
if there's gonna be someone here in the LPL to overtake that type of record, I would be honored to have it be Knight so far this split. The way that he has played, these incredible performances and carries that he's able to put on.
And talk about living up to the hype, because he had tons of hype coming into
And
the
that's
LPL.
what I'm going to say. That's the best thing ever, because so many times in different regions, and especially in the LPL, we've heard about a guy come in with insane talent. This guy was a streamer. This guy was whatsoever. And he's coming in here, and he's going to be a beast. And they're not really a beast because they can't stack up to the way that professionals play, and they prepare for these matches. You know what? Knight has absolutely delivered, and then some here for the LPL fans and for top esports fans. He has been a true godsend.
Yeah, I think the golden left hand is probably going to be getting some hardware on his mantle in the future. They better give him a custom trophy if he takes home that MVP award. Invictus Gaming, you've probably heard of them, the defending world champions and the defending LPL champions. We're heading into the final week of regular season, and they haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, which is absolutely insane. They had this series against RNG over the weekend. Game 3 looked great. They got an inhib at 18 minutes. They lose the next team fight. They lose Baron 2 minutes later.
And this is just one of those situations where, again, I think a lot is going well for the most part for IG, but I think
A couple of subs in this series, by the way.
Right, and that is still something that you definitely need to be looking at from the IG side, subbing out Ning, and this is one of those situations here where we know Ning has got a lot of talent, but we have also seen the downsides of Ning's performances at times, and we have known him to be somewhat of a coin flip player, and we were running
He's a full coin flip.
We were running for quite a while on a lot of those, positive flip performances here, and now after a stretch of the negative, IG looking for that consistency, making a bit of a swap out.
But luckily for them, and if you're a fan of IG, there are 2 matchups here in the final week. If they go 2-0, they're locked into one of these playoff spots, and even if they go 1-1, they need some combination of some teams losing. But they're playing LGD and Rogue Warriors. I expect them to 2-0 this week.
Full on expect the 2-0, sorry, excuse me.
0-2, oh boy.
That would have been spicy to get back to. 2-0 this week coming through for the IG squad. And I think, again, talking about these replacements for them, I think it's solid that it is with Ning. That is maybe a place that you can experiment because, hey, we saw you experiment. Baolan out of the lineup. Give my boy still in there. Baolan is an important member of IG.
Yeah, he's been great still for them, even when they haven't looked as great as a team. But either way, they're going to be in unfamiliar territory of having to actually run through the entire playoffs as opposed to a bye right to the semis. That's it today for League Unlocked. Eric and Mark with you guys as always. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.